Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Student to Startup. I am so excited that we have you here. And this is part of a series that Lakehead is offering to have an understanding of what you can do after graduation. And I'm really excited to present this one to you because we've already been lingering with the idea of starting your own business. And I have two amazing entrepreneurs here who are graduates from Lakehead who can share some insights as well. Let's take a look at the other events that we have going on as well. If you go to My Success under the events tab, you'll see the other events that we have going on over the next few weeks. So our plan for today, we're going to do some introductions from our panelists. We're going to get into some great conversations so we can understand what their pathway has been like. And then we're going to have a little bit of information from Allison McKay, who's from Ingenuity. So if you want to be starting your business, Allison's going to have some information to be able to help you get started. So our panelists today, we have Cassandra Arsenault, who is a digital marketer and coach. She's the owner of Connect, and she's a graduate from the psychology program. Welcome, Cassandra. Thanks for being here. And we also have Michelle Groh. She is a skincare therapist and owner of Michelle Renee Beauty and a graduate of the education program. Welcome, Michelle. So without further ado, I'd love if you can give a little bit of an introduction to yourself. What have you been doing since graduation and a little bit about your company as well. Michelle?
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Grew. I am a skin therapist here in Thunder Bay and a budding entrepreneur who has been an entrepreneur for the last basically 10 to 14 years since graduation, which is wild to think about. So I graduated from LU in 2011 in the education program and really felt a disconnect from what I had taken. I really enjoyed teaching and helping people in a deeper way, but going down that path of being a teacher in the school system just didn't resonate as much with me as I thought it would. So post graduation in 2011, I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? So I did the serving job, moved away for a little bit, and then really thought about, okay, what can I do in the meantime before I figure out my real job, my real career? And I thought about the beauty industry. I'd always been interested in it. So I decided to take a nail course and was like, you know what? This will be great for the time being. And then now, 14 years later, I am still in the beauty industry and don't really have any plans of leaving it. So I started as a nail tech. And now I am currently a skin therapist and have just opened my own collective in Thunder Bay called Cloud9 Beauty and Wellness. So I am the lead skin therapist here. I also have a naturopathic doctor on the team and a holistic nutritionist. And we are welcoming a reflexologist soon as well. And this is all female-led entrepreneurs who are on this collective together. And our goal is to help women discover more about their wellness, themselves, and just become better people in their everyday life. And the entrepreneurial journey has been wonderful. It's been up and down. It's been scary sometimes, but I cannot imagine doing anything else. Thank you guys for coming here and listening to us today.
That's awesome. I love that you took that time to really decompress after you finished your program to think, what do I want to do? And it's interesting that when you lead with that curiosity, even if you're going into something where you think, oh, I don't know how long this is going to be, but look what it turns out to be 14 years later. That is amazing and so inspiring. Thanks, Michelle. Cassandra.
Hello, everyone. So good to connect and be here. Yes, so as Michelle said, I am the owner of Connect, a digital marketing company, and that might sound a little different than the psychology piece, but I did my undergrad in psychology, initially thinking that that was the path I was going to take. And in my second year of university, I really wanted to diversify and like learn things that I knew nothing about. And so I had taken a business management elective in my second year and really loved the business space. And so I had decided in my second year that I wanted to pursue something along the lines of business, but I didn't know what that meant yet. And so I also knew that I wanted to complete my degree in psychology because psychology can be applied to so many different spaces and places. And so I really enjoyed my undergrad and learned so many things. And I'm even taking like a psychology course right now for fun because I just love that concept and that topic. And so when I was done with university, I went into Confederation College and just did their marketing program and just tried to like fast track so I could kind of get to my career. And so I opened my business just at the beginning of COVID there, and everybody was going to the online space. And so my initial thought, I was in an internship and loved it, learned so many things, but thought, how can I do this for more people? I really wanted to make an impact in more people's lives and more people's businesses. And so that's why I ended up opening Connect. I don't run from a business background at all. I don't have any family that did any of this kind of stuff. And so it was really kind of a leap of faith and, trusting in myself to be able to say, okay, well, we're going to do it and we're going to learn as we go. And we're going to take all the things that we've learned in all these spaces and places and bring them into your own version of whatever that is. And so I Open Connect, I'm on my fifth year now and have clients initially in Thunder Bay mostly, and now they are all over the world. And so it's been really quite the journey to expand that company and learn and grow from all different facets.
Well, congratulations on 5 years in business. That's amazing. And I can see directly how that psychology degree has kind of guided you into your job too, because I see it even in your marketing on Instagram, that a lot of it, like marketing and selling to your audience, really takes that level of understanding who your audience is, who are you marketing to, and what are those emotions that come out in marketing. So very awesome to have you here. So without further ado, let's go into the questions here. Just going to move my screen around here. I just thought I would put the questions up on here so our audience can see it as well. So what made you decide to take the leap and start your own business? And did your time at Lakehead play a role in that decision as well? So we can start off
Um,
with Sandra.
yeah. So what a great question. So, I think what made me decide initially was how do I expand my reach and how do I expand what I've learned to help more people? And so that was kind of the initial driver of like, I have this knowledge, I have this education, I have the experience in different places. Now, what do I do with this? What do I want to work for somebody and work in one role and expand in that role, or do I want to help other people in different capacities? And so for me, it was really just wanting to help other people and be able to do that in a way that felt aligned with me and excited for me and all of that kind of stuff. And so that's why I started my own business. Like I said, traditionally, my family was a 9 to 5 kind of group. So this was very new to me. And I think like Lakehead definitely played a role in that because it allowed me to explore different classes, different things that I would never have thought of. So if I didn't take that elective in my second year, I wouldn't have a business today. Like I know that for a fact. I would have, followed that initial path because it is something that I still really enjoy. And, if I could go back to school, I'd go get my master's and I do that too. Right. And so I think that, Lakehead definitely had a huge role in being able to diversify my education. And so, yes, I was in the psychology program, but it allowed me to take all these other opportunities and allowed me to take all these other classes to say, okay, you're taking this, but look at what else is out there and look at the opportunities that you can, make for yourself and do with different things. And so, like you said, Michelle, psychology kind of runs through most of the things that we do every day. It's in all of our lives, it's in all of our businesses, it's people, it's, all of those things. And so I never, regret that. I love that I have my psychology degree. I love what I've learned in that program. And I think I truly bring it to almost every interaction I have. So yeah, definitely a good space to be in. And just being able to help more people was what I really, really desired to do.
It's great that you have that exposure because we really can only choose career pathways of things that we can see people represented in. So, like you said, you didn't have family members who were entrepreneurs, but being exposed to that at Lakehead and having that seed kind of planted in helps you kind of along your way. That's awesome. Michelle.
So I'm going to do this in two parts because I will be honest, when I first went into the beauty industry and took the nail course tech or nail tech course, it was out of necessity. I didn't even realize I was being an entrepreneur at the time. That was in 2013. And it just kind of evolved. And I realized like midway through, like, oh, like I need to learn how to do taxes and I need to learn how to market and I need to learn how to do all these things. And wow, I am an entrepreneur without really realizing it. Um, Unlike Cassandra, I do come from a family of entrepreneurs for the most part on one side. So my father's side, my father was an entrepreneur, his father was an entrepreneur. But then on my mother's side, she was definitely more of the you get the degree and you do the teacher job or you do the accounting job, whatever it is, that's safety, security. So I had both worlds influencing me, which in a way is beautiful because that led me to going to Lakehead. And Lakehead, it might not seem like it fundamentally played a role in my decision in becoming an entrepreneur, but it really made me realize that I needed something different because of the program that I took, than what that path was that I was being pushed towards. So I never even looked at my father and realized like what he was doing either when I was growing up. And he has been a wonderful support through the entrepreneurial journey and really just giving me that like kudos for doing it and telling me I can do it. And especially moving into kind of this shift in my business, which has taken a lot more planning, a lot more um, moving through fears, a lot more understanding deeply why I am doing it. Having both sides, having more of that university side as well as the entrepreneurial, like just going straight at it side, has been a beautiful blend to create where I am now and what I hope Michelle Renee Beauty and Cloud9 Beauty and Wellness are going to become.
That's interesting. I never knew that about you, that essentially entrepreneurship kind of found you along the way. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so what's been the toughest part about turning your idea into a reality? And how did you get through it? And I know right now both of you are kind of both pivoting in different ways, so I guess this is kind of like an ongoing question.
It's always ongoing. I feel like there's never a definitive answer to this question. And so what when I reflected on this, the things that came to mind immediately were knowledge and discipline. And so for me, you have to know what you're doing, right? And I'm not saying you have to know all of the things, but you have to have a base knowledge of what's going on. And so in my business, like marketing, yeah, I can open up a marketing company, but I need to know how to market. Otherwise, the clients aren't going to come to me. And so it was like, okay, here's the idea. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to take all the things that I do know and do something with it. And then the actual implementation of it was that discipline piece. And that goes to the mindset thing that Michelle was just talking about around like adjusting that mindset and knowing that you can do something because, entrepreneurship is essentially building something out of nothing. You have this idea one day and you say, okay, now what? Let's do this. And then that happens over and over and over again. And so things shift, things adjust, and it comes down to, for me, was like the discipline to be able to do the work that I set out that I'm going to do, to show up for my clients every day because there is nobody here watching me. It is just me. And so, yeah, I can sleep in. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can go to the mall. I can do whatever I want. But it's like, okay, no, I do want to have a successful business. I do want to serve my clients. So it's this discipline behind that. And then that mindset around imposter syndrome. Like, who the heck am I to decide that I'm going to open up my business and my idea is going to be good enough to serve people, and be able to have clients that pay me something, not pay not pay a bigger company, but actually come to me as a human being and say, I want to pay you for this service. And so I think the toughest part around all of this was just getting into that thought process of you can do it as long as you put your mind to it and you actually do the work behind it. So I think there's a lot of talk of like, well, if you just dream it, it happens and you do it. But I think like there is work to be done. And I love the work that I do. And I'm really glad that I'm able to sit here every day behind my desk and get the work done. But I think that that can be a bit of a challenge is like, okay, I have this idea, great, and I have this knowledge, but what do I do with that now? And how do I actually make that something that is tangible that people are going to pay me for and people are going to support my business in? And so for me, it was really just a mindset shift and, an adjustment of reality, discipline, time management, all of those types of things that I think we all have a base knowledge of, and we do because we've gone to university, we've gone to school and had to do these things, but it becomes a different thing when nobody's really behind you watching you, right? So that's what it was for me.
That discipline is such a big piece. Like if your manager is not there checking on everything that you're doing, there's that accountability in yourself. And I know even as well when you're first starting out and maybe clients aren't coming in or your expectation of when money's supposed to come in, that's where that discipline really comes in of like, you got to push through, you got to be building something for when clients are going to be coming in your way. So really great points, Sal.
Definitely a lot of what Cassandra touched on, the mindset piece, the really like believing in yourself and understanding what I was doing at a deeper level has helped me through it. The toughest part in two parts, and one of it can almost seem like a strength. So that real want to do it all and do it all now and completely burn yourself out in the process. So oftentimes we have, if you're somebody who has that discipline, and I really have it within myself, I had it throughout university, I had it throughout everything, even doing nail tech, I was like 120% in. However, I learned very quickly that in order for me to grow and succeed in entrepreneurship, I have to put and value my time in a way that might seem different to somebody who's not an entrepreneur. And that is because of avoiding that burnout. So we want to put it all in to get it all going. So we do that. But that has been really a tough part of turning my idea into reality because it has to be sustainable. I could spend $150,000 building this space and getting the money and doing all that stuff to make it a reality. But if I'm not able to sustain myself, sustain my brain, my body through it, then it's just not going to happen. And also, that's when fear really starts to creep in. So, fear is a huge, huge shift that you have to start working with, or your relationship with fear you have to start working with, because there will always be fear coming up, whether it's making an investment, maybe it's pitching your idea to somebody, maybe it's being a leader and stepping into that role within your business. So really having that foundational relationship change with fear is going to be big for you building a business, and also understanding the value of your time so that your business stays sustainable from startup to growth and scaling.
We really like that part about kind of protecting your time and protecting yourself from burnout because your business ends up becoming like your baby and you want to be spending every moment with it to be growing all the way through. And especially when we get into the spot where we're comparing other people, other businesses, right? And we're usually, especially in the beginning, comparing it to people who've been in the business for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And we're starting out month one and we think that we should be at that level. So we spend hours and hours burning the midnight oil trying to get everything done, but that in turn doesn't do anything for you. You're exhausted, you're burnt out. So really great points. So thank you. So leading us to our next question here. So was there a moment where you thought, I don't know if this is gonna work out. This might not be what I had planned. How did you handle that?
All the time. And I think a lot of business owners feel that, right? As soon as something, to your point, Michelle, like as soon as something shifts or changes, or you can't keep up. Maybe the business is really busy and you're not holding your boundaries and you're not doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And then, that trickles into your business and now you're not able to serve them well. And then that kind of falls apart. And so I think there's a lot of times in business where we kind of look at things and say, okay, well, is it worth it? Is it going to work? What do I do? Like, what direction do I go in? And I'm sure many entrepreneurs feel that. And so for me, there have been times for sure. I think I've probably talked to Michelle. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shut her down. Like, this is not happening. And I think, what got me through that was the reason why I'm doing it. And that's twofold. So number one is to help people. That's why I probably took psychology to begin with, right? It was because I wanted to help people. And so when it comes to business, I still want to help people. I still want to serve people and be a support in their business so that they can grow and build their movement and they can help people. And so everybody's kind of helping each other through this process. And the other part of it, this year, I reflected a lot on like, why am I doing this? Like, what is the goal here? And my goal is flexibility. And a lot of people talk about freedom and they talk about time freedom and financial freedom and all of those things. And that just never truly resonated with me because I do love sitting behind my desk as a typical 9 to 5. Like I sit behind my desk like 8 to 4:30 every day. And so a lot of people say, well, that's not really freedom because you're not, it's just a different version of that. And so for me, it was flexibility that I can choose how I'm going to do that, right? I can sit behind my desk and work 8 to 5 and do that for 5 years. And then one year I can be like, nope, this year I'm going to do this and switch it up. And flexibility in the way that I show up, the clients that I serve, my services that I offer, my time, my money, all of those things. And so coming back to those reasons, those core reasons of, why am I even doing this? Why do I push through this? Why do I think that, okay, on, the second day of I'm going to give up on this, why do I keep doing it? And that's really the reason for me was coming back to that. Okay, why am I doing this why did I even start doing this? Because I could have, with the degrees and with the education piece, I could have gotten, a fairly decent job and been stable and have all these things. So what is my reason specifically for coming back to this? And that has been kind of that driving force behind you when days are hard or when business gets tough or when the money isn't coming in as consistently as you want it to, or the clients aren't super happy with something. It comes back to, okay, why am I doing this? And can I ground myself in that? Because at any point, if I feel that I'm not serving my clients or I'm not helping them anymore, or I don't feel that flexibility anymore, that changes this perspective and that changes how my business operates. And so if I don't feel that thing, am I going to adjust my business and am I going to adjust the way that I show up? Or what's that next path for me? And so that's my main tip on how to kind of get through that. What the heck am I going to do? I got to close this thing down.
I think that why is such a big factor because I tell you, like in all the conversation, I'm sure you can understand too, talking to fellow entrepreneurs. I think every month we want to burn our business to the ground for whatever reason, whatever is kind of happening. But we really need to be sticking to that reason of why. And I think in the beginning, a lot of entrepreneurs really stick to the reason of like their mission of helping somebody. But I think really connecting it to a personal reason, like why are you actually investing your own time and energy to be building this up for you, right? So like there's a lot of effort that goes in, but like you said, connecting it to what is the lifestyle that I want and how will this business be able to give me the lifestyle that I'm looking for, whether it's the flexibility in time or being able to travel or whatever the case is. So really great points. Michelle, what's your strategy with this?
Cassandra basically just took the words out of my mouth. And I think this is like very common with entrepreneurs and going to different levels of entrepreneurship. Like you said, Michelle, like you go into it with that main reason for helping people or whatever it may be. Or maybe you want to make $1 million at one point in your life. And money is an interesting thing. And this is where the money mindset comes in. Don't ever be afraid to say that you want to be wealthy and you want to make money as an entrepreneur. Absolutely let yourself have that. I just needed to put this out there. But was there ever a moment where I thought maybe this isn't going to work? In all honesty, I have such a deep trust and belief in what I am doing that I've never had that exact thought, but it's been more like, can I do this? Can I handle this? Related more to that burnout piece, related more to that, where is this energy going to come from? Where is the next idea going to come from? Do I need to be posting on social all the time? Like all this is exhausting, right? And so, really asking for help and outsourcing has been really, really fundamental for me. With that, when those thoughts really come up, especially when you're at that stage that you can, and I know it's difficult when you're new to it. Maybe you don't have the resources, but there are a lot of mentors out there that want to mentor for free, or people who have been in entrepreneurship that are absolutely willing to help with different strategies, giving you ideas to get through all this stuff. And there's grants and programs that can also help you achieve that as well, so that you can get through those more difficult times. And really being able to step back and seeing those. And I always tell people, have those listed for those times. Have those people on hand for those times. Whether it's your friend who's an entrepreneur who has been there before as well, and you just need to talk to them. It's just like talking to a friend when you're going through a breakup. You need to talk to your friend when you're going through a tough time in business. And then just like Cass said, having your why, understanding the deeper why for you personally. Um, I'm not a big planner. I'm not somebody who's like, what is my 15, 20-year plan? But having kind of an idea around that can also be beneficial. Like, I'm not somebody who's like year 1, 2, 3, like, but I do have an idea of what I'm working towards as well. That's rooted in that why, that personal why. And for me, it is that like freedom as well as impact and legacy more for my community as well as my people, like my family. Um, and then the freedom to be able to go for 2 months somewhere while I have a team doing that thing. Um, and knowing that whether I'm speaking somewhere over that 2 months, or I'm just taking the time off, or I'm doing something else that's contributing, whatever it may be, I have that freedom. And flexibility is actually a really nice word for that too, because I think I will have a hard time completely stepping away, but we will see when that time comes as well.
Michelle, I really lasered in when you talked about that mentorship piece because I think that's a really big component too of building your community of entrepreneurs and your support system around you. Do you have any advice for people on how they might be able to find a mentor?
Yeah, so it depends, of course, where you are. So I Cassandra is part of the Alliance group. She's one of the people that hosts it. So Alliance started in Thunder Bay through a local woman named Erin Cisco. And she has been a wonderful help for so many female entrepreneurs, where we can get together and mastermind with each other. Um, Ironically, I talked to the founder of U Ride over Christmas, and one of the things he told me that he did when he first started U Ride was he went on LinkedIn and bombarded CEOs asking for help, just advice, um, about what and how he should start moving the business. And that is a whole other level of like commitment to your business, I feel like. And not everybody is going to be able to do that. But if you're that type of person, that's an option for you too. Looking at local groups, like we have Paro here in town. We have Lakehead has some wonderful people there that can help as well. Um, and honestly, like just going to small businesses in Thunder Bay, if you're in Thunder Bay or wherever you're from, and asking to speak to the owners there. Some people might not be able to have the time, but some people definitely want to bring that into what they do and have that impact and in their community that way as well.
That's great advice because I know that, even if you have a really supportive friends and family, it's a different level when you start to make your connections with fellow entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting out all the way through, but definitely in that incubator kind of stage, but those are really great tips to be able to connect with other mentors and entrepreneurs in the area. Thank you. Okay. So for students who are thinking about starting something, but they don't know where to begin, what's one piece of advice that you would share with them?
Oh, what a juicy one. I think, and this might ruffle some feathers in different ways, but I think a lot of people, and I heard this actually from another high-end entrepreneur, and I can't remember who said it, or very successful entrepreneur, I should say. Um, but a lot of people dive into the deep end head first. And I didn't necessarily do that. I was lucky enough to be able to take 3 months off when I had finished my internship. I'd saved up and took 3 months off to be able to kind of build the foundations of my business and kind of really hone in on what that looked like because I had no background in this. So I was like, well, I'm starting with this idea. I have to make a web, or I don't have to, but I chose to make a website. I chose to do the social media. What am I going to do for invoicing? I don't have an email account. Like, what am I even doing here? I had no foundational pieces, right? As everyone does when they first start a business. And so a lot of advice out there says, well, just do it. And yes, you do have to just do it because there becomes a point in anything that we do in our lives and in business that we block ourselves, right? Like I have a lot of clients that come to me and they're like, I really want to get better at marketing on social media. And I'm like, well, yes, you just have to do it. But let's talk about why you're feeling blocked around this and what's coming up for you. And why do you think that you don't want to get on video? What is happening here? Often it's judgment from other people, right? And so with business, it's kind of that same thing. A lot of people say jump into the deep end. But if you don't have legs or you don't know how to kick or you don't know any of those pieces, you will really struggle for a long time where you don't necessarily have to. How about you jump in, you don't have to jump in where you can touch, but you can jump in the middle of the pool and have a better understanding so that when you do kind of go under, you can touch the bottom and push yourself back up because you have those foundations underneath you to be able to do that rather than sinking 10 feet in and being like, I don't know what to do. Because to Michelle's point, there's nothing that will kill a business like overwhelm and stress and getting sick. And so if you start a business and you don't jump in head first, I think sometimes we can just get really, really overwhelmed by that. And we don't actually do anything with it because it all feels stressful. It all feels overwhelming. It feels impossible. And so, yes, we have a big dream and we have a big vision, but when you can't even see past the small things, it becomes really hard to get past that point. And so my my advice is to kind of get those foundational pieces in order. Again, you don't have to have every little nitty-gritty thing. You don't have to have the perfect website. I still don't have the perfect website. I have an about me page. Like I had a website and then I didn't want to update the sales copy. Like you don't have to have everything perfect and ready to go. But I think you do have to have some of those foundational pieces to be able to stand on when things get a little bit rocky or when you're unsure or when you're approaching somebody to ask for mentorship, if you don't even know what your business is or who you want to serve or what you want to do, where are you going with that mentorship piece, right? What do you ask? What's the question you're asking? So yeah, for me, I think, yes, you do need to take a leap. You do need to trust yourself. You do need to take risks and taking those risks while building that foundation and while building those important pieces, I think just helps you propel much quicker than drowning and then coming back to life. That's just my thoughts and opinions.
Those are great pieces. And I think that when we start a business, people always think I'm just on my own, like I need to get things set up. And this is an important part to really start leaning on your community, like looking out for services, hiring a mentor or coach or something to kind of get things going because you could be in that cycle for a long time. Like I know tons of people, even myself, that before I started a business, I had that idea for so long, but what paused me forever was like, what do I do? What's the step? I'd look at different websites and it would freak me out. Like, do I get a business number? Do I sign up for HST? Do I register my business? Like, all those little things just pause me for so long. And it's like, I don't know what to do next. Michelle, what advice would you give?
Yeah, so thinking about starting something and then actually moving towards the action is a little different, right? So thinking about starting, definitely taking time for self-reflection. And this is where things like ChatGPT, which we didn't really have when we first started our businesses, come in such um, in a great way, a great tool for you to utilize to literally be like, what should I be thinking about first while starting my business? This is my idea. This is how I want to grow. This is what should I be doing first? And that will give you a whole bunch of questions that you can sit and reflect on and understand yourself and your drives, your strengths, your weaknesses, practicing your pitch, all those kinds of things in such an easier way than we ever had. So use those tools to your advantage, to be able to actually get that foundation. Those, some are free, some you have to pay for, whatever feels right for you. And then once, like Cass said, you have that foundation, the number one piece of advice I give people is mentorship. Do not skimp on it. It is absolutely the one thing that has changed my business. Was it scary to invest $10,000 in somebody when I was first really like building everything? Yes. And you don't need to spend that much money. There's people who do it for way less. There's free programs out there. Um, but really, each step of the road, my belief is you should have somebody who's been there before you. And that depends really what your goals are though. So if your goal is to scale or grow quickly, having somebody alongside you who has done it before you is invaluable. It's the best investment you will make into yourself and your business because those two are not separate when you are starting a business. They'll help you manage the burnout. They'll help you understand what priorities are. They'll help you with strategy. They'll help you depending if you're working with like a Canadian coach or somebody from another country, Canadian coaches might be able to help you with like the tax side of things and help kind of mentor you with that, like the more legality side, a little bit anyways. At least giving you guidance so that you don't feel like you're constantly trying to catch your breath.
Really good advice. The chat GTP, I didn't even consider that, but what a game changer that would have been when we first started our businesses for sure to be able to go there. What it's like almost like having an executive assistant or a strategist beside you or someone to brainstorm with that you can literally just talk to it like you'd be talking to a person and trying to get things in order. That's a really, really good point. I also love, again, the idea of the mentorship, but the piece that I at least found in my experience and some of my entrepreneurship friends as well, that the accountability alone of having that mentor or coach is really helpful because, like Cassandra mentioned before, too, not having someone who's standing over you that you're doing your work, having someone that you're going to be meeting with on a regular basis and they give you, some tasks that you can do to kind of move things forward and you have that person to talk to afterwards, that alone is very, very helpful to have as well, especially when you're getting too used to managing your time in that way and hitting some of those milestones in your business. Great advice. Okay. So, what does success look like for you as an entrepreneur, and what keeps you going every day?
Ooh, I think we touched on this a little bit in the other question, but yeah, it was just kind of that flexibility piece, right? And being able to help people, being able to connect with people. I'm an outgoing person, and so sitting behind my desk all day doesn't really sound too much like me, but it's connected me to people like Michelle, and people across the world that I would never have known without doing something like this. And so for me, continuing to help people, continuing to serve people in the best way that I know how and the best way that I can. And, that personal reason around being able to be more flexible in my life, especially as, family grows and all that kind of stuff. Like those are things that we think about. And so depending on where your life takes you and what you want for your life, just kind of looking at those core, um, those core reasons of, like you said, why you're doing this. And so that's what keeps me going, is just kind of that understanding that I am helping people and I am serving them, and in turn serving their clients who are doing amazing things. And it allows me to stay flexible and be able to do stuff like this and meet people from all over the place, and just, serve in the way that I know how. So yeah.
It is interesting how that journey goes. In the beginning, of course, money is going to be a big focus, but then kind of the deepened connections that you make and your deepening of your reason why gets stronger as the years go on in your business as well. So, really great points. Michelle, what about you?
So right now, what's giving me a lot of those feelings of success and fulfillment is really hearing from clients and women who have walked through the doors saying that they finally feel heard, they finally feel seen, having a space where there's a collaborative approach that feels safe and supportive for them. And their health journeys and their own self-connection journeys is what really has been fueling me, as well as seeing other entrepreneurs in the space really get that and connect with that as well, and finding those right people that align with that vision. That has been really, really great for me to kind of like sink into and be like, yes, trusting my intuition has really led me to this, because I am more of an intuitive type entrepreneur. I feel like there's all different types of entrepreneurs. I definitely need strategy and need that type of support. However, my intuition and gut feeling about where I want to move my business, grow my business, bring the people on that will be right for my business has been the most important thing for me in terms of growing it and finding that success and having the impact that we want to see on our clients that we see walking through the door every day.
And Michelle, do you feel like your definition of success has changed from the beginning as a nail tech to now?
Yes, absolutely. So again, like during nail tech years, I feel, or I know that it was really just a means to an end. Like I made the money, I put in the time, that kind of stuff. But I also realized I learned a lot, and that led me to where I am now. So it's definitely changed in the sense that I have a more of an understanding of what that looks like for me in a deeper way. I believe that my idea of success will be like a chameleon throughout my whole entrepreneurial journey and will shift and change, as we always do. We shift and change, and our priorities in life shift and change too. So really reflecting on that, I think a few times a year, and what success feels like for you in that moment of your journey is important to understand, not only yourself, but again, that deeper why of why you're doing this and why you're growing a business.
That's awesome. What I kind of connected with that as well is that, when you're first starting off a business, it doesn't always mean that that's where your business is going to stay. And just like how your idea of success changes, as you start to understand yourself more, your clients more, your business is going to pivot and it's only going to get stronger as you are getting more connected to your business, to yourself, and to your clients as well. So, really great feedback. So we're turning the tables now, and I know that we have a participant in the audience here who has a question as well. So if you'd like to unmute, you can ask your question.
Absolutely. I actually have a question. First of all, thank you so much, both Cassandra and Michelle. That was really, really insightful. I think just sitting back and getting that perspective firsthand is really helpful. So you spoke a little bit about the initial steps that are important when you're starting your own business. I'm curious to know more about it in terms of logistics. So, what are some necessary, crucial first steps that you should be taking, logistically speaking, when you're starting a new business? Like, for instance, maybe in Thunder Bay specifically, perhaps, what are some, specific organizations that you believe are crucial in helping you. It may be in terms of, setting the foundation, licensing process, and so on. I'm very curious to know more about that. Thank you.
Great question. I'll let Michelle go first. I feel like I've gone first for everything. So you talk and I'll go off that.
So, big one is understanding finances. So, whether you're working with a bank, financial advisor, accountant, you probably honestly need all of them, lawyer, legal stuff. Understanding cash flow, understanding profit versus loss, all those kinds of things often are neglected by a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning and can really, unfortunately, be the nail in the coffin for people 5 years down the road when things get really tough with cash flow. So, not ignoring that need to understand your finances as a foundational piece of your business. It's going to change, obviously, because you might be going in with hardly anything moving into the business, or maybe you do have a lot of resources, but talking with the professionals who are available to you, so I personally bank with TD. I'm lucky that my partner, who is also an entrepreneur, is a financial advisor. So I have somebody in my back pocket that can show me we need to make this amount of money a year in order to retire at this time. I have a bookkeeper who is a wonderful mentor. So finding a bookkeeper, sometimes that's not within your budget at first, but once you start getting busy, handing that off, those people can be invaluable for you. Speaking with a lawyer, having legal advice depending on your type of business will be important. In terms of my business, we don't have a ton of regulations, unfortunately, in the beauty industry in Ontario right now, but we deal with the Thunder Bay Health Unit. So finding out who is your governing body and how to communicate with them. Also making connections with anybody who might be like a provider for you if you're bringing in stock of any type, really asking great questions of those people. And this is where ChatGPT can come in handy, because I feel like you get excited to do these businesses and you might not take the time to really invest in understanding who the right resource is for you as well. A lot of the resources I have used have been really more online people that are not in Thunder Bay. I was lucky enough that I was able to like finance the business myself. Not everybody has that opportunity, but there are a lot of grants and you can go online, and I believe LU has somebody that can help you find grants available as well for business. I forget
Allison
who runs
can.
that. So, yeah, using all of those resources. LU is a great resource. Con College is a great resource. Um, the simple foundational things of finance, not ignoring those at the beginning. Legalities, not ignoring those at the beginning. Thunder Bay does have a website. If you need specific permits, it will tell you on there if you do need those. And that is dependent on the type of business that you're building.
Thank you so much. And this is a really good segue to be going over to talk to Allison McKay, because she's going to have the ins and outs of all the logistics. And I just want to thank Cassandra and Michelle. Thank you so much for answering these questions and taking the time out of your busy schedules to come talk to students here and inspire the next cohort of entrepreneurs going out in the world.
Thank you so much for hosting this and doing this. I think it's such an important conversation. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank
now
you, Michelle.
Thanks so much. So now we'll pass it over to Allison McKay, the manager of Ingenuity at Lakehead. We would love to hear what Ingenuity can do to help entrepreneurs.
I will
Would you
do
like
my
to share
best
your screen?
in the 7 minutes. No, it's okay, because I think there's probably too much content in the slides to get through in the 7 minutes. And nicely enough, a lot of information was actually shared. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. Ingenuity has been on campus physically in Thunder Bay since 2018. but still, always working for awareness and showing students that entrepreneurship is a viable career pathway. It is a lot of work, and of course, they're in school, and you're trying to talk to them while they're completing degrees, but really kind of planting that seed in it. So, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I support the Aurelia campus as well. However, the physical space of Ingenuity is in the Cases building in Thunder Bay. So, kind of the quick once over of what Ingenuity is. It's a business incubator. What are incubators? They grow things. We help students grow businesses. We are open to all programs, all disciplines. And I like to say, it really touches on a lot of things. Cassandra knows I've had Cassandra in speaking to my students a number of times. We really act as a funnel a lot of the time. So I am lucky enough to be a part of a very strong ecosystem here in Thunder Bay, as well as the ecosystem within Aurelia and Simcoe County. And a lot of the times I have a student come to me, someone had spoken about how do you find mentors and how do you do this and how do you do that. That's what I do. I speak to students one-on-one, but I'm certainly not a subject matter expert in everything. So I'm currently working right now with 4 students in my accelerator program. We give them some seed funding. We run a few cohorts of that. But, I have a student that's sitting there talking to me about radioactive materials in healthcare. I got a business degree from Lakehead, right? I can help you talk about some steps of business, but I need to find that student a mentor to talk about that. So, when it comes to finding mentors and finding extra funding and finding program, that's where Ingenuity fits a lot. I sit with students, we talk about business model canvas, we start to make the plan, and I take them as far as I can go in the journey. We create goals. So I act a lot as an accountability piece too. So they can come back to me. I can check in and say, well, have you spoken to so and so yet? Well, you know what, you should try this mentor step, and et cetera, et cetera. And then talking about resources. So I'll do the 2-minute dump of resources the best I can. The Ingenuity website does have quite a few. We've talked about Paro, we've talked about the Alliance Network here in Thunder Bay, the CEDC and provincial funding. So both, anywhere in Ontario, 2 major grant programs, Summer Company and Starter Company. Those are both incredible programs. Any small business economic development center has them. Thunder Bay, it's the CEDC, Aurelia, Barrie. There's a number of organizations down there. There's the Henry Bernick Center out of Georgian and Barrie. They do fantastic work, similar to what Ingenuity does. So we host a lot of free workshops, webinars, sessions, things like that. Ingenuity itself runs an accelerator program, so $5,000 of seed funding for a 10-week boot camp. So I take them through workshops every week. Start off with business model canvas. Just the other day we talked about market research, business legalities. I have them meet with lawyers. This group is really specific to a lot of intellectual property. So, talking about intellectual property, there's IPON, which is Intellectual Property Ontario. There's a number of funding resources in there. There's IRAP. Someone was talking about the Thunder Bay Health Unit. So there's BizPal. You go onto BizPal online, type it in. It tells you any kind of permit you need for whatever it is. The same with health units, et cetera. And there's permits for kind of random things. You can't just put a sign up in your business if you're too close to an intersection. And there's lots of things to know like that. So that's where I come in. Funding is always kind of one of the key things. So there's your typical financial lenders, right? Your banks, your BDCs. There's Indigenous programs, so Anishinaabe Development Fund. There's an Ontario Minikanan Batakadoon program, which is $5,000 for Indigenous. I always go to the word student because that's my typical audience, but a lot of these programs are completely wide open. Paro, if you're talking about anything women's entrepreneurship, Paro is just a monster of a center and all over Ontario. So they've got a number of resources, and they're just an absolutely fantastic group of people to work with. You've got RICs, so Regional Innovation Centers. Here in Thunder Bay, we have the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Center. They have a location here and one in Kenora. Tons of programming, lots of federal dollars, and just interesting program as well. Southern Ontario, you have Fed Dev. Currently everything is, in the political elections we're in, so a lot of programs are halted until the provincial and or federal elections are finished. But this is what I do. So that come and see me. I can give you the rest of the information. I try and put as much as I can on Ingenuity websites. We try and share as much as we can. For students, there's a lot of pitch competitions that come out that if you pitch your business, there's some really good cash to be made. If anyone is interested, the arena, it starts March 3rd. It's all online. It kind of goes after the March Madness bracket system, universities across Canada, and $10,000 cash prize. They're 2-minute pitches, and it's so awesome to watch. So St. Mary University hosts that, all online again. So that's me and my verbal here as much as I could get out in the few minutes.
Thank you so much. That was good information in there. I know that everyone was kind of wondering, like, what is that first step? And I think this is definitely the perfect spot for a first step. For myself, I did the same thing, went through a program like this. I was in that pause mode for so long, but this really gave me the ins and outs because I had the idea, but didn't necessarily know what to do with it. But I want to ask you, Allison, I know that this is something that comes up as well, is what stage of the process do they need to be in? So, for example, if they want to start a business, but they have no idea what to do, can they still get help?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we have it all. I actually had someone that went through our accelerator program, and we literally just did market validation. And actually, at the end of the program, after having received the funding, we found there was no market. So we spent the time and we just tested the market. And then I've had people come into the accelerator program, and not even that, like just come into my office saying, "Hey, I've started, selling my artwork online, but I think I want to grow that." Great. Let's try and take some next steps. So it's everything. It's ideas, it's products, it's services, it's apps. It is absolutely everything. And again, right, that funnel system. So if I can't support, or I know of a program that's happening, then I provide the referral, try and find some mentors. And I say this to entrepreneurs all the time, and it was touched upon too. It takes a village as an entrepreneur to start a business, but it also takes a village for me to help support entrepreneurs in terms of mentors and finding the right people to talk to, and trying to locate the right resources, whether that's Lakehead, we host an intellectual property clinic, so you can come and speak to an intellectual property lawyer for free. And as a startup, those are major dollars you're saving, right? Or if you want, I can get you like to speak to someone about, QuickBooks or whatever that is. So we host a lot of workshops like that. Chambers, all kinds of places have all these free information sessions that might give you an hour overview of, what the CRA says you should be doing for your taxes. So really kind of stay tuned to that to get the support.
A one-stop shop for everything entrepreneurship.
It's a funnel.
Actually, yeah.
A funnel that belongs to just two absolutely incredible ecosystems.
Yes, that's awesome. I found it even helpful even with the foundational knowledge, but also like we talked about the mentorship, the community, even just being in the space of other entrepreneurs who are also in the process of starting a business can just work so much magic in starting your business.
Oh yeah, they learn so much from each other. So.
Well, thank you so much, Allison, for your time. Really appreciate it. So helpful. So if they want to get a hold of you, they can go onto the Ingenuity website. Can they walk in?
Yeah, it's typically easier because sometimes I'm hanging out in the district, or I'll have a student in the office, and right now with the accelerator program. So yeah, I would like to reach out, come around the space, and I'm just A McKay at Lakehead U, or I'm on LinkedIn, or we have the Ingenuity website. We try and stay pretty up to date. I employ a student every semester to do my marketing for me, because I don't have a Cassandra in my back pocket who could really get some success happening for Ingenuity. But my students do a really good job. So we try and post as much as we can online for events. Everything's free. come and check it out. If we're sharing partner events, sometimes it'll have, a $5 registration fee or something pretty simple. But yeah, just kind of you can stay in touch that way, or just reach out. And for an entrepreneur, that's a huge step as well, right? Is just sitting down and sharing. It's scary. It's super scary. So, come and let's chat.
That's awesome. Thank you so much again, Allison, for your time. And yes, I hope to hear everyone's business ideas. You can always reach out to Ananya or even myself. We have other career members as well. So if you want to start talking about those ideas, we can help as well and kind of guide you over to Allison's way. I want to bring us back over to the first slide again just before we go. Let's see if I can here to remind you of the other great events that we have coming up. So next week we have the careers in computer science. We're going to have two great employers that will come in to give you the ins and outs of a career in computer science. And thank you again for attending. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.